Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Mark from FM Jeeping, and today we're going to be making a homemade rear bumper. So on this lovely rainy Saturday, instead of wheeling, I'm going to go ahead and make a do-it-yourself homemade rear bumper, or at least attempt to. I probably won't finish it today, but I'm going to start it. So you might be asking, why am I looking to get rid of this bumper here? It's very heavy. It comes with a tire carrier that I can't use that I could probably sell to put money towards some more stuff that I want to acquire for the next phase of this build, as well as try my hand at building something. I think you've noticed on this channel, if you've been following, I've really kind of gotten into trying to do more metalwork. I find it challenging. It's kind of fun, so why not? So what I've elected to do is go with this 2x6 structural tube, 3/4 inch wall. This is left over from my rock sliders. Now, people might be saying this might be a little on the thin side. However, I'm going to do some gusseting and some structural enhancements to this right around the recovery points, so that way I'm not ripping this bumper, right off the welds, and I'm not, bending the bumper too much because of the thinness of the wall. However, I think the 3/16 with the way I'm going to do it should be more than sufficient. So what I've done is gone ahead and kind of plotted this out on my 2x6. This 3/4 line is going to be basically where I'm going to cut. This is where I'm going to cut on the bottom. Reason being is I'm going to do something similar to how I did my rock sliders. I'm going to cut this angle out. I'm going to trim the bottom of this, and then I'm going to fold this up and have the bottom of this tube be the cap for this. So it's kind of all one piece. So it's going to be 64 3/4 inches from one edge to the bumper to the other edge. There's going to be this 13-inch long slanted diagonal cut, and somewhere in the middle here I'm going to have 2 recovery points to be determined. What I'm going to do is cut holes in this, countersink it in, weld it on this side, weld it on the back side. I'm also going to gusset it in with some 1/4 inch flat stock, as well as put this right next to where the brackets come out of the unibody, so that way all the strength and all the force is going to be put through where all the supports are. The main goal out of this is to lighten up the bumper, make sure I have adequate toe points, and get some ground clearance, and match the body lines from the 1/4 panel cut that I did a few weeks ago. I'm also going to do this a little differently. Now, I think most people, when they build a bumper, they build the brackets first, then they build the bumper around the brackets. However, I've got a wheeling trip planned for tomorrow, and I believe the next weekend as well, so I'm going to try to do everything I can off the rig, because whatever I do on the bumper, like I could literally legitimately finish the bumper, cap it, and get it set, and then I can start making the brackets when I have a week or two between trips to pull off the rear bumper and make my brackets. So I ran into a little bit of a snag. This cap piece does not want to line up. It might be in the way I cut it, so I'm going to try to use a clamp and hopefully get it to line up. So we'll see what happens. Alright, good news is I was able to level that out, so that's very salvageable. Had to use a bunch of clamps, kind of work it little by little, but I got a nice little gap there that's bezeled just a little. So I'm just going to tack random places just to kind of hold it down, so that way I can finish welding it later. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the bumper that's installed, so then that way I can start kind of plotting my brackets. So now that I got the bumper off, my next order of business is I got to unbolt everything off the hitch mounting points, which means my bumper supports, as well as my really bent to crap gas tank skid. Now, I can only imagine if I didn't have it. Alright, to kind of put in perspective of what I'm trying to do, the bumper that I took off my Jeep with the tire carrier weighs 132 pounds all in. That doesn't include the spare, but that is basically just the bumper and the tire carrier. The bumper I'm replacing it with right now is not, although it's not complete, I figure with brackets is probably going to weigh right around 50-55 pounds. So that is a substantial weight savings. New bumper. Old bumper. So I got extremely lucky. Well, not lucky, it's just I'm happy that I've already gone through this pain. So about a year or two ago, in an older video when I did my rear frame stiffeners and this the gas tank skid, that's when I swapped these out. So they're still relatively fresh, very little rust, so makes this job a lot easier. If you've never taken those out before, you might be in for a fight. I know I was when I took these out to install that bumper that I just removed about 4 years ago, about 3 years ago. I had to basically break every bolt, and then I was able to get out the nut strips. I love dust. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open up this channel. Behind here is the unibody rail that kind of goes all the way to the front of the vehicle. This is where the nut strips for your hatch, and if you upgrade to a gas tank skid, this is where you'll bolt it down to. This will probably be one of your strongest mounts that you have in the vehicle. These will not cut it. It has to be done through here. But what we want to do is open up this window because I want to insert some 2x4 tube. So what I'm going to do, my weapon of choice, and try to take the saws off, make sure it's plugged in, and open this up a little bit. Give it a try. Alright, not bad. I could definitely clean this up, but I'm going to take this all the way down. I'm going to take it all the way out to the channel of the edge. So, let's see what I can do. I'm going to use a Dremel. See if we can get this off there. So something that I kind of forgot about is if you can see in there, that thing going across the top of the channel, that is the lines for the fuel tank. So whatever bracket I do cut, I have to cut below that. So once I clear out this doorway here and clean out this channel, I'll know how tall a bracket I can get under there. It looks like I could probably get at least an inch tall. That adds a little bit of complexity to it. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I did a little bit more off camera. I opened up the channel a little bit more last night using a sander and carbide bit. I'm still debating on whether or not I'm going to keep this bolt whole or if I'm going to back it out just so I can slide the plate in. I actually kind of like the idea of having something else in there just to kind of hold it in place, and I really don't like cutting stuff if I don't have to. So what I might do is I might just back this bolt out, not take it completely out, but keep it threaded, but get this shank equal to the side of the channel. Well, we'll see what happens. Aha! Help if I close it in. Oh, sh! That was not supposed to happen. So much for my extra lighting. Damn it. Alright, let's try this out. Now that I got that little board out a little bit better. Yahtzee! Let's do it on the other side. I'm going to go ahead, clean this up off camera. I'm going to make it look pretty much like that. I might clean this up with a little bit of a sander bit, coat it with some paint so it doesn't rust, and I'll catch you on the next clip. Yahtzee! So what I'm just going to do now real quick, I got this nice little belt sander, like a little finger belt sander, so I'm going to go ahead and just clean up the edges, spray them, let them dry off so they don't rust. Then I can start cutting the brackets. Fun is. Alright, now I got all the holes cleaned up, relatively straight. I'm gonna hold off on painting the edges for now because I'm gonna just scratch the crap out of them, moving the bracket in and out. And I might start backing out the leaf spring mounts bolts here. This side will definitely be the easier of the two because for the most part I pretty much can put a straight shot of my 2x4 in here. Just back this out, mark where I got to drill a hole, and then kind of call it a day there. And I'll just let the bolt go right through. I wanted to have that bracket come clean out to about here or whatever, wherever I want. I got to measure how far out I want it to be because I want it one piece, and then I'll weld these supports onto it as opposed to welding the whole bumper to this plate. And like I said, this side's going to be a little bit harder because of the added cut for the fuel lines, but it shouldn't be too bad. I gotta figure out how much space I have between the bottom of the rail and the top of the rail here to the bottom of that pass through there. So I gotta clean this out and get some measurements. Alright, so I've gone ahead and marked off a length of tube, that I'm going to need for my bracket. Now I took the length of the nut strip and added, I think, about 6 inches roughly. So basically what I'm going to try to do is just cut 2 pieces of tube so it's easier to work with, because right now I've got this length here, so it's super long. So let's cut this thing. I'm going to give the plasma cutter a try just because I like to try to practice with it. I'm still not really good with it, but practice makes perfect. Just had to turn it up a little bit. Still not as clean as a cutting wheel, but it is what it is. Alright, to kind of give everybody an idea of what I was going to do, is that I cut this slot out. This part's going to go underneath the gas lines. This is going to have a U-channel, and then I'm going to drill holes in the bottom of this to put weld in some nuts. And basically what I'm making is my own homemade nut strip slash bumper brackets. And at first measurement, too tall. So I'm going to take the grind wheel and clean that up. Alright, let's give this a shot. And let's see. Check that last bolt. Oh yeah. Nice. That'll work well.
Hi everybody, it's me, Dylan, and that's Daddy. He's working. And that's Daddy's Jeep, and those are our bikes. So, I ask you, and which one you press?
So imagine this is the old nut strip. I want this to kind of mirror this in terms of distance. So what I'm going to do is cut this down. This whole section here is going to be removed so I can have access to weld in these nuts. So we'll see if this works. Alright, so I just got to square these up, clean them up. Yeah, that is not sitting. Let's see here. Oh, I got my finger stuck. Oh my god, that was awesome. That actually kind of sucked, but that's funny. Alright, so it looks like right about there, there's a notch. Do I hit something? It was something like 2 minutes ago. Anyway, so here's what I got. This is going to be the passenger side bracket here. Now what I did was I intentionally cut this a little bit taller than the driver's side. Now on the driver's side I had to squeeze between the bottom of the unibody and or the rail on the inside and then the gas filler pass through. So I wanted there to be some meat on that one, but this one I actually have to cut a good amount off the bottom. It doesn't have to be this exact amount. I want to measure how deep this is, but I do need to probably cut the whole bottom part of this off. When I say that, this is 3/16. I'll probably cut 3/16 off, and then I'll just have the walls be supportive. The bump doesn't look all that tall, so we'll see what I can get away with. And you can see how dirty my unibody is. What better to be doing on a nice rainy, well, it's actually Friday, than making a bumper. But for this next part, this is when you want to save your small cutting discs. Don't throw them away when they get low. Save them for really small, intricate cuts. Because what I'm going to do now is basically slice either side of these. I'm going to cut down to a certain point, slice them so I can make that little notch for the bottom of the unibody rail on the passenger side. So hopefully you can hear this over the rain, and I'm going to go ahead and cut that down. That was awesome. Not my best cuts, but we'll see what happens. Alright, so at first glance, I think we got it. There we go. Ow. so it looks like these are pretty spot on. Yep. Now this is obviously a little bent, but it looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and start boring those holes out. Alright, so I've gone and pre-drilled all where my holes are. I did one hole at the full size, put the bracket back in, put the bolt in, straightened it out, and everything is dead center in the holes on the Jeep. So I feel confident that I'm going to go ahead, bore these out, punch them through, and then I can start working on getting nuts to weld on the backside. It's been a few days, let's get caught up. Here are the brackets, still looking raw as ever. I was able to pre-drill all my holes for my what are going to be basically my captured nuts. Went out to our favorite orange and brown big box store. Got some nuts. So what I'm going to do is take my new favorite toy, the thin belt sander. I'm going to clean up all these areas here. I'm going to grind off some of the finish on the nuts and start welding away. Okay, for those who are wondering what Alexa pause. Alexa pause. Okay. Alright, for those who are wondering, these are M12 by 175 thread pitch. So I guess that's pretty standard for at least the factory nut strips and things like that. I'm going to go ahead and stay with the factory stuff, so that way in case I ever need to replace it, I know what it is. Got all the nuts in. It's kind of hard to see that one in the back. That's going to be a fun one to get to. If I can get it on 2 or 3 sides, I'll be good. I'm going to just pull down on these, sink them nice and tight against the metal, tack them in, remove the bolts, and then burn them in. So in an effort to save my camera, because I've kind of burned through 3 lens protector. This would be my 3rd lens protector, except for I don't have any on right now. I'm going to back you up a little bit. I'm sorry if it's going to be some distance welding, but I hope you can understand. I'm tired of buying lens protectors. Not bad penetration, I'll take it. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead, run a tap through all the nuts, just to make sure that when I heated it up, I didn't mar them up too much. Now this is why I'm glad I checked this prior. So this hole, it threaded in okay. It must have moved just a little bit, but my tap won't start because this metal here, the bracket, overlaps the hole ever so slightly. So I'm going to take a carbide bit and very gingerly open that up just enough so I can get my my tap in there. Test. Golden, baby. So I have some good news for myself. The passenger side bolted in, no adjustment needed on the unibody. Driver side, 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 ain't bad. So I just got to go back over to this one, the hole closest to the front, and just lightly use a carbide bit, open that up just a hair, and I should be good to go. 30 seconds later, it bolts up like a champ. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is square up the brackets. Get them nice and square. Then I got to fab up my last mounting piece, which is the 4 factory mounting points. I think I'm going to go ahead and use the same 3/16 plate. Just cut out square, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to notch it out so I can weld it to the sides. Because really, like I said, I want the unibody, the 5 bolts that I just put in, to take the brunt of it. This is just to kind of add a little bit more stability and a couple more anchor points. These are really not good for pulling. These will rip right out because these are literally sheet metal. These are welded to the back of this sheet metal. This is a couple layers thick, but it's really not that strong. But you take these 4 bolts in addition to the 5 that we just added, this thing is going to be super solid. Alright, so in the time I've been off camera, I was able to make plates, and what I'm going to do is going to cut out the hole for the bracket to go through, if you can imagine the bracket go through, and then I'm going to weld this plate to the bracket, probably roughly right around where this line is. I bolted this in. I've got it flat, flush mounted. It'll still twist a little bit because it's not fully bolted in, but I've got it basically down. It's flat on the unibody. What I'm going to do is just mark there. Now what I can do is I can bolt this back up, and I have my lines on where I need to notch, and then I can start fitting that. So I'm using the plasma cutter a little bit more now. My confidence is kind of growing with it, and I kind of am starting to really like the results. Now, obviously, a cutting wheel cuts, I wouldn't necessarily say straighter, but definitely cuts cleaner. There's a little less cleanup. However, the plasma cutter does do some pretty good results, especially once you get the settings dialed in. Now, I'm going to have to kind of bore this out anyway, so why not do a majority of the cutting with the plasma cutter, which literally takes just a few seconds, as opposed to the cutting wheel, which might take a few minutes. Gotta open it up a bit. Getting closer, getting closer. Alright, so I'm getting close. I've notched this out. The fitment is pretty good. You can see the bracket's raised, so I just want to notch out. There's a little bit more that I cut up, so I just got to notch that out. I think if I do a clean cut all the way across there, I should be pretty much golden. After a couple more tries, I was able to get this pretty much where I wanted. It's lined up pretty good. I got a bolt in there just to kind of hold it in place. I got a bolt down here. So what I'm going to do now, take this out, clean this up, clean up all the edges, basically polish a turd. I'm going to clean all the welding edges so that it's nice and clean, and I might be ready to burn that in. So now is the time I'm going to go ahead and start planning out how far off the bumper is going to be from the vehicle. I propped the bumper up. Now it's not perfectly level. It doesn't really have to be at this moment. The leveling is going to be part of once I weld it to the brackets for the final time. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. Now if you can see, there's some tape on the ends. This is where I think I might end up cutting it. It is still a little off center. Let me see if I can push it without knocking it over. Oh, nope, that's not the case. Be right back. Alright, so I got a little slightly more centered, but the tape here is, I had originally cut this to be a certain length as kind of like a test fit. So I've elected that I'm going to cut basically to the end of the armor here. This is just a rough kind of idea. I put black tape on there to kind of like hopefully blind me. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this bend here and then just cut and then cap the end. But really, for what I'm doing right now, is I'm just going to find a nice stick out that I'm happy with, and then I'm going to measure the distance, cut the brackets, and pray to God. So what I'll basically do is get under the rig with a tape measure from the back face of the body, and just try to make the measurements exact to the inside edge of the bumper. Alright. So mounting point is going to be 3.5 inches on the dot, and then this one is, I gotta tweak this just a hair, but this is basically 3.5 inches. So I'll have to go through and center it. But what I'm going to do now is measure off the face of this out 3.5 inches, and pray to God I cut this thing square. Got the brackets back up. I kind of prematurely bolted them, both sides. I'm gonna go ahead, throw the bumper in, on, center it the best I can. I gotta find the center point of the bumper, center on the vehicle, measure a couple different places so I have it square, and I might be able to tack this sucker in. So I found the center point of the bumper. I found a center point of the Jeep. I got it eyeballed, lined up. Shut the door. I just got to do a couple more fine-tuned measurements. Now, this actually looks pretty good. I'm actually really happy so far with how it lined up. If this is good, I might just go ahead and tack this sucker up and finish this on the bench. I got a couple more measurements to do. I'm going to measure it off the back there, here to here, go underneath, double check that. If it's close, I might send this. My God, I think it's pretty darn square. Take a step back, look at it. Yeah, it looks, body lines, it looks okay. I'll definitely maybe do some caps here just to kind of step it up and fill this void. Cut that, cap. Yeah, you know what? Let's tack the sucker up. Let's do it. Round one done, so I'm going to go back, do some thicker welds, double up on that, and we'll go from there. Not bad for a second pass. I'll take it. Little porosity right there. The rest of it came out pretty good. So, second passes all around. So I went thick on the welds, obviously, because I wanted to double up. Those look like they might be a little cold. Yeah, crap. Those look a little cold. That looks like crap. That looks like crap. That looks a little cold too. Damn. I turned up the heat on the second pass too. Well, we'll have to wait and see how they do. Alright, so the fitment's pretty good. I tried this on a couple different times. Everything seems to work out pretty good. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is clean up this nasty booger of a weld. Same thing with this, I'll grind it down nice and smooth, or taper it so it meets the bracket. At the same time, I'm also going to cut an inch off of here. And what I'm going to do is make this nice and flat, cut it, and cap it. So, same thing on the inside. I'm taking about an inch off each side, and then I'll clean that off, and then I can start planning the recovery points. Alright, I just did a quick cleanup. I'm not going to leave that like that. This is just kind of, I'm going to go back and fill this in, smooth that out, make it a little bit smoother, but ultimately I did what I wanted to do, which was I cut the caps, I cut off the ends. Let's throw it on the Jeep one more time and see how it looks.
Whoa!
It would help if I didn't get my tools in there. No, not terrible. Oh yeah, there we go.
That is Daddy's bumper, guys.
Alright, so I went ahead and capped the bumper. I still need to clean all this up, smooth it out, fill it up a little bit more. This side didn't turn out nearly as well as the other side, which I just have to, I haven't even touched this. This is literally just how I welded it. A little porous there, but I'll grind it down, refill it. But I'm going to basically make it match that. I want to focus on the recovery points. So I'm going to measure, find an ideal spot, trace it out, and then cut it out. I'll probably end up using a plasma cutter. I might pre-drill where I want it to end, then use the plasma cutter to kind of bridge the gap. So I'm still working that out in my head. What I want to do is identify where on the bumper I want to put them, and then I'll go from there. So what I've decided to do is I've gone 16 inches from the end to the center portion of where the recovery point's going to be. That inset's probably about 1.5 inches from the inside of my bracket, which is probably going to be the most strongest point. So what I'm going to do, or what I've done, is found the center of my beam, the center of my recovery point. If you can see the 2 notches there, I've lined those up on both sides. So once again, that's 16 inches in, because this is 6, so it's 3 inches down. And then that looks a little off, but I'm going to double check. And I found the center point of my recovery point, or my recovery lug, and I've drawn it onto the bumper. So what I've got to figure out now is how I want to do this. What I might do is throw up a square piece of angle or something here, use a transfer bit and kind of find the exact point and drill all the way through, so that in that way I know I'm drilling square through and I have beginning and end points. Alright, so I got this in. I kind of like it where it's at. I don't know if I'm going to go much further because it'll really draw that in. You know, I might just keep it. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll butt weld the back of this, and then I'll double stitch this in. All right, now that I got these all ground down, cleaned up, ready to go, we're going to do a little fishing, magnet fishing, fabricator style. Woo! Good. Alright, so I got the plug welds in the back. This one kind of dipped up on me a little bit, but these came out pretty good. Let's see if I can flip this over without dropping it. There we go. Not bad for a first pass. I'll probably go one more pass, but overall I like how they came out. Very little cleanup. I think I can zing that with a flap disc, and it'll clean it right up. The welds really don't even need that much cleaning. They look like they're pretty good heat, and that's kind of what's important. Yeah, not bad, not bad. So I talked to a couple people who do make bumpers or do some fab work locally, and what they suggested, just to kind of reinsure that this thing doesn't go flying, especially the recovery D-shackle mounts, lugs, whatever you want to call them, is go ahead and weld in some plate. This is 3/16 on top of 3/16. Weld it in, and then I cut out a hole just big enough for this lug to go through. I put it in, and I, nice thick welded it on. Not as pretty as I would have liked, but it'll do the job. So really it's welded here. Then that load is going to spread out to this plate, and underneath this plate I also have it welded pretty thick as well to the main part of the bumper, as well as, if I can do this while flipping this over, be right back. I also plug welded the back of the lugs as well. And one other thing I did say I was going to do, and I finally did it, is I went ahead and I gusseted both sides of the bracket. So it's welded, the bumper is welded to the bracket via these gussets and the bracket. So, you know, there's some real estate there that's got some weld. And of course it went porosity on me, or porous. So most of these welds came out pretty good though. So yeah, I'm gonna let it fly. All in, like I said, for my first bumper, not bad. I definitely would make some changes going forward. But this is kind of a learning experience. I had fun making it. It was challenging at some points. More or less, the bumper is now done, at least fab-wise. I'm gonna go ahead and bedline it now. I took it out on a run. It did okay. Obviously, I didn't have to use it for towing or anything, or getting tugged out. But it held up well. I didn't rub it on anything, didn't get hung up on anything. I did pull on this. In fact, I broke a strap trying to pull it as a test here at the house, and I ended up breaking a strap. The bumper, perfect. So I'm gonna call this a win. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this Rust-Oleum truck bed coating a shot. It has some slight texture, and that's kind of what I want. Reason I'm going with this over my normal Herculiner, which I really prefer. Right now, Herculiner in quart form is very hard to find for some reason. And the only thing I can find is a gallon. And a gallon is way overkill, and I tend to waste a lot of it. So there's no real need for a gallon, especially at $80. This quart was like 18 bucks, and the application kit was about another 10, 11 bucks. So that's kind of where I'm at. So the bumper's all done. I got 3 coats of Rust-Oleum bed lining. I got it on pretty much all the exposed parts. Everything that's going to be in the unibody has been painted and ready to go. A couple scrapes here because I keep taking the bumper in and out. But we should be good. Chased all the threads again with a tap. So let's put the sucker in, be done with this, and move on to the next project. There we go. I like it. So I'm going to go ahead, bolt this thing up. Alright everybody, I'm going to call it. The bumper is now completely installed. Everything's bolted down. I've got all 10 unibody bolts bolted in, as well as the 8 factory points for a total of 18 mounting points. And if you don't include the 2 rear shackle bolts that go through the bracket, they're not necessarily threaded in, but the tolerance is really close, where if all those bolts were to fail, those last 2 bolts that hold up the shackles will hold it in. Trust me, I know. I broke a strap trying to pull this damn bumper off while making it, forgetting that I had those 2 bolts in there. It broke a strap, and I was able to actually almost pull the Jeep completely out of my garage using my truck. So yeah, those bolts are pretty damn strong. And luckily no damage came to the bolts. So I was able to back them out no problem, thread them back in no problem, no damage to the threads, so we're good there. So overall, this is a pretty long process. Probably took me the better part of maybe about 3 weeks to do. Some things I would definitely do different. I might not do 2x6. I'm kind of thinking, seeing some other people's bumpers, maybe some 4x3 might have been a better choice. It would have been a slightly lower profile. It would have been a little bit boxier. It wouldn't have been stuck down as far. One of my other big regrets is not finishing up this area with caps, but I got some projects coming up for this area. So this is kind of like to be concluded. For those who are following me on Instagram know that I'm doing 1-tons. I gotta make room for some big tires soon. So this whole section might be getting cut out, who knows? In which case these caps here, if I were to do, would have come off anyway, or something would have been modified. So probably best to just leave those unfinished for the time being. Now that the bumper's installed, everything's finished, I'm gonna go ahead and conclude this video. I wanna say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely had fun making this. It's not perfect by any means. I definitely learned a couple things along the way. Some things I can carry into future projects, and I hope you learned some things too. So if you have any questions or comments, concerns, criticisms, critiques, go ahead and throw those down below in the comment section. Please thumbs up, like the video, subscribe, and if you're interested, you like my stuff, and you want to kind of help out the channel a little more, I am offering hats right now. They're $20 at lidlaunch.com. I'll leave a link down below. So with that being said, thank you for watching again, and we'll catch you on the next one.
It's me again, but this time we're doing a funny one.